Let me know if you can hear me now. I don't know. Peter, you said that at about 2 minutes ago. Just want to make sure. But anyway, what I was saying was I was discussing this article that I was reading about 56,000 home purchase agreements being canceled. And then we're seeing nightmare scenarios where deals are getting canceled at the last minute. Now, this is from someone in Miami. Awesome. Thanks, Peter. Appreciate that. So, real estate has always been and will always be very hyper local. You can't really compare the Miami real estate market to the majority of the United States. You just can't do it because it doesn't represent the majority of the United States. Now, again, I just made a video about this. You can definitely go back. I'll make sure that I link to it as well about buyers often backing out during the inspection period. And but one thing that I have been seeing a lot is how outrageous homeowners insurance is becoming for a lot of people all across the US. I'm not just talking about certain areas, right? So in Florida, it's crazy. It's crazy. We're dealing with these hurricanes that are coming now that are stronger than they've ever been, creating more damage to homes than ever before. So it's no wonder it sucks for homeowners. It sucks for people that are considering selling their property too, because they have to deal with their homeowners insurance getting raised. And it's just like, hey, I'm sorry, home buyer, but our insurance used to be 2,000 and now it's 8,000 in some cases, right? It's going up to astronomical numbers. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of these buyers are backing out and leaving sellers in these positions. Some areas are seeing higher cancellation rates than others. 3 of the cities with the highest percentage of voided contracts are located in Florida, which has been a hotspot for home buyers in recent years. So we have Orlando at almost 21%, the highest rate of them all, and another pandemic hotspot is Vegas at 20.2% cancellation rate in June. Wow. Like that's a very high rate. And again, you can't base the entire real estate market off of these bigger cities, these hotspot cities where Miami is it just and Vegas especially, that doesn't represent the vast majority of these suburban areas that are located throughout the United States. I don't know what the exact percentage is, but I know that there are absolutely more suburban areas than there are cities. Right? So these suburban areas are generally the areas with the better school districts that people want to live in, and that's where they move to. So you have to really take into account, when you're reading these articles, you have to really take into account, okay, so what does that mean for my area? If you're reading this and you're in Bozeman, Montana, and you're saying to yourself, oh my God, Orlando, 21% of the purchase agreements were scrapped. And then in Vegas, 22%. Does that mean that's No, not necessarily. I mean, it might be. I don't know your market in Bozeman, Montana. Is it the same in Cleveland, Ohio? What about Portland, Maine? I doubt it. I doubt it's not as high, but you really have to pay attention to your local market to understand what is happening. And then something else that I wanted to talk about today without getting too much on the buy side, again, because I'm always about sellers, homeowners, and giving you the most relevant information for when you are deciding to sell your home, because that's very important to stay on top of not just your home, but understand what the buyer pool is like in your market. Okay. Because this is all very important. Affordability challenges plague the housing market. I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, buyers have faced a series of challenges over the past few years that continue to plague today's market. According to this Redfin report, home prices continue to increase, hitting an all-time high median sales price of $442,000 in June. $442,000 $42,000, that's crazy. For the whole US? Like, that's insane. So many buyers are being priced out. So many buyers, especially first-time home buyers. Now, how does that pertain to home sellers? Well, if the median is 442,000, bordering 443,000, and your home is in that low 400s, anywhere in the 300s, anywhere in the 200s. I mean, there's not many places left that are in the 100s unless it needs a good amount of work. I mean, even in Detroit, I know the values have gone up. But that means that if you have that property that's in that 200, $300,000 price range, like that is where a lot of the bidding wars are still happening today. That means that you can position your home for sale and you can get multiple offers and most likely get an over asking price for your home. That's what that means to me, and that's what I've seen here, in my market of Greater Philadelphia, there aren't many areas where you're going to see those lower prices, in my county of Chester County, I know that the median, sales price is in the high $400,000. I haven't looked very, very recently, but it was the last time I looked a couple months ago was in the high 400,000s. And even in some zip codes, you're talking the 500,000s. Okay. So that means that if your home is in that $200, $300 price range, like you're in good shape. You're in good shape if you need to sell. If you're in a position where you can sell and you have the funds to buy, you have the patience to wait to find something, if you have temporary housing that you can move into, if you can negotiate a lease back, that's really important as well. Like if you can negotiate a lease back where you can sell your home to someone, stay in it, lease it back from them, everything through a contract and legally binding until you find suitable housing, you're going to be in great shape. Okay. Let's go back. 442,000. Oof. At the same time, mortgage rates average 6.92% for the month, and the typical monthly mortgage payment was up to about $2,900. For the sake of comparison, in June of 2020, with mortgage rates significantly lower, way less than half, 3.16, and the median sales price of 311,000, the typical payment was about $1,340. Now I see that number and I think to myself, wow, that sucks for the average home buyer. You're talking about values and monthly mortgage payments skyrocketing in 4 years. 4 years. I purchased my home in 2018, at the end in November of 2018. $395,000. Now it's been almost 6 years. And our home will probably sell somewhere in the 600,000s. Like I am fortunate to be a recipient of that benefit of the increase in home values. Um my payments in the low 2000s. If I went and bought my house today in the low 600s with interest rates where they are now, which are lower, fortunately, and we're going to talk about interest rates in a little bit, it's probably going to be closer to 4 grand a month out the door. PITI, property insurance, taxes, and interest. 4 grand. I mean, gosh, it's so frustrating to me. Like it's such a double-edged sword for me because it's like, yes, I'm grateful that I have this house, and I'm grateful that it appreciated in value. I am a real estate investor myself, so I've seen the benefit of appreciation. But at the same time, I feel for that first-time home buyer because I was that first-time home buyer. I was there. I lived it. I know how challenging it can be. And then from the seller standpoint, like you're you're just in a good spot. But the other side of that is you probably have to buy. When you sell, you probably have to buy something. So it's like, yes, I can sell. I'm going to get this crazy high price that I did not think I was going to get when I purchased it 4 years ago, 6, 10, 20 years ago, right? You didn't know what your property was going to sell for in the future. And now you're benefiting from that. And then at the same time, it's like, oh, here we go. Now I have to buy. Now my payment is going to go from 1,500 to 3,700 or 2,200 to 5,000, whatever it is. It's frustrating. I get it. Because costs are so high, many buyers are opting to wait out the market, hoping for mortgage rates, home prices, or both to ease. To add to these difficulties, home buyers face a number of home sales. For sale is still tight, although it's been improving steadily. Here's what I'm going to say to that. People have been saying they're going to wait it out for years at this point. I got into the real estate business 2015, got licensed in 2016. From that point up until now, I have heard people say, I just want to wait out the market. I want to wait it out. I think the market's going to crash. And all it's done is gone up from here. Interest rates were extremely low in 2020, 2021, and even parts of 2022. Most of 2022. That was the time to buy. That was absolutely the time to buy. Now is the time to sell. But then on the other hand, you're thinking, oh my gosh, what if I have to buy? So when people are saying they're going to wait it out, you've been waiting forever. Now, will interest rates go back down? Yes. Yes, they will. Here we go. 6.37%. 6.37%, 30-year fixed. 5.92% for the 15-year. An ARM loan, if you speak to some lenders, adjustable rate mortgages, you can get in the mid fives right now. Here you go, 30-year FHA, 5.75. It was 8% last year. Actually, I think it might have been 8% at the beginning of this year. Now we're down for an FHA, 5.75. That's awesome. That's really good. When interest rates are low, that's good for home sellers as well. It's good for home sellers because more buyers are now attracted to and able to afford your home. And then it's also good for you as well because eventually you're probably going to have to buy again. Everyone has to live somewhere. Now, some people might sell and rent. Well, rent prices are through the roof too. But if you're selling and buying, interest rates being low are a benefit for you. Instead of overpaying for a home that isn't a perfect fit, many would-be buyers are canceling agreements at the last minute. They're backing out due to minor issues because the monthly costs associated with buying a home today are just too high to rationalize not even getting everything on their must-have list. A Redfin premier real estate agent said in San Francisco. Again, you have to pay attention to what these people are saying and what market they're in, because San Francisco market does not represent the majority of the United States and these suburban markets. You better believe it. It does not represent it. These bigger markets like that in the cities, they're very different than the suburban markets. Very different. And the mindset of somebody purchasing a home and it having everything on their must-have list, that's been a challenge for years. I mean, I've worked with a ton of buyers. You It's very rare that you get everything you want unless you're buying new construction or unless you're building ground up construction. It's very rare that you get everything you want. But I understand what home buyers are thinking right now. They're thinking, I'm paying these crazy overinflated prices because so I want my home to have everything, but that's not it. In my market, the homes that we're selling for $500,000 2 or 3 years ago, in the condition that they were in, now they're like 750, 700 in the same condition. Right? So you still gotta put work into it if you want it to have everything that you want it to have. And that's the challenge, that's the plight right now of home buyers. And then again, I always bring it back to the sellers, and I always bring it back to positioning yourself right when you're listing your home. You have to you can't just throw it on the market anymore, not in 2024. You can't just throw your house on the market and think, "Oh my gosh, it's gonna sell right away." There might be some hot spots, like micro markets within these markets, especially in the suburban areas where it might, no matter what kind of condition it is. But for the majority of people, like, it's gotta show well. Like, your home has to show well. You have to have certain features and benefits that people want. Now, again, I also understand the distressed sellers market as well, because that's something that I've been working in for 9 years. I've helped countless distressed homeowners in situations where it's like, I just gotta get rid of it. I gotta sell it for cash to an investor as is condition. I'm not doing any work. Divorce situations, bankruptcies, foreclosure situations. The home is just in complete disrepair, and it's like, I don't want to put this on the market. I'm ashamed, and it sucks. It really sucks. But like, for the majority of home sellers in the United States, like, your home has to really show well. It has to stand out. You have to position it correctly. The 3 Ps. It has to be priced well, has to be presented well, and has to be promoted well. Always go back to the 3 Ps for me when I'm selling houses. Price, presentation, promotion. Let's get back to our silver lining to the buyer pullback. It's a silver lining to the seller, not pullback, but the seller selling. Despite what seems to be dire circumstances, prospective buyers may soon receive some relief during the summer buying season. Current mortgage rates have fallen. Yes, they are. With fewer active buyers in the market, home sellers are having to adapt. Almost 66% of all listings sat on the market for an average of 32 days last month in June of 2024, the highest it's been since June of 2020. More than 40% went unsold for more than 60 days. Slower sales means that inventory, which has been extremely low over the previous years, is slowly recovering. That's important. That's a pretty high number. 66% of listings sat on the market for 32 days when people are used to it, like, on the market 2 hours, offer, sold. On the market 2 days, 10 offers, sold, right? That's what in my market, for the majority of my market. Now we have ultra luxury around here, 20 plus $1 million estates. And then we have a few cities, a few more of those depressed areas where you can buy properties for 100 grand, even less than 100 grand. So we have the gamut here in greater Philadelphia, where, like, I'm talking ultra luxury estates in the Villanova area, Radnor. And then you have areas like Coatesville and Chester where you can get depressed properties, distressed properties for cheap still. Um, so 66% sat for 32 days. Wow, that's impressive. That's a long time for a lot of people. More than 40 went unsold. 40% went unsold in 60 days. That just means when I hear that, when I read that, I say to myself, okay, so homes aren't necessarily selling as quickly as they were. Well, why? Hmm. Why? What is causing people to be hesitant? Inflation? I mean, that's a big one. When the cost of everything is so dang high, including housing, when you know that you're going to go to the grocery store and you're not spending less than $200 unless you're shopping at Aldi. Huge shout out to Aldi. Love Aldi. Best prices. Literally 4 bags worth of groceries for almost for 4 people for a week, less than $200. Huge shout out to Aldi's. Hoping to get a sponsorship soon. Um, yeah, but groceries are still high. Gas is still high. I got it yesterday for 3.28. It's better. I mean, it was close to 4 at the beginning of the year. Utilities are still high. Everything's still high. Inflation's still high, right? They keep saying it's coming down. When? I don't know. Can we even trust them anymore? Who's them? The government. Boo. Right? So you're thinking about all these people are backing out of deals because everything is so expensive. So that means that when people list their homes, there's a little bit more hesitancy to pull the trigger right away. And also, you know what's happening? It's an election year. Generally, around election years, the real estate market slows. And then, as soon as the election's over and whoever is in power, whatever party, it starts to trend up again. And then, also, why we're in this position, the number one reason why we're in this position right now is because a lack of supply and the demand is very high. That's why we're in such an extreme seller's market in the majority of the US. The supply has not met the demand for years. Since the major economic crash in 2008, they have not kept up with building enough homes for the amount of people who are going to be purchasing them in the coming years. That's it. And then it was ramped up by COVID and the printing of all that money. That just added fuel to the fire that was already there. You know, we're in a supply crisis. We've been in a supply crisis for years now. It wasn't as bad when I got into into the real estate business in 2016, 17, 18, and 19. And then as soon as pandemic hit, it got worse, worse and worse. And prices kept rising because people wanted to live and own property. The buyer demand across the US, I know, is pretty strong. The buyer demand in my market is very strong. Millennials like myself, I'm 36, upper millennial, we're looking to buy homes and settle down. People in their 30s and they're from 30 to my age, they want to settle down, man. They want to buy homes. A lot of people are fleeing these bigger cities too. They don't want to deal with it anymore. They want that suburban home. They want the fence and the dogs and everything else that comes with it, right? So the demand is there. The demand is there. The demand is there, but the supply is not. And that's why we're in this position. That's why the real estate market has continued to increase in value. That's it. I mean, I'm not ever going to get political on this page, but people are going to say one thing, people are going to say another thing. My guy this, my guy that. The facts are the facts. It's a supply and demand issue. Now, one of the things that I had written down were home prices. Actually, did I get through this? I want to make sure that I got through this. Home buyers cancel. Also, gone are the days of bidding wars. That's not true, which resulted in home sales $1,000 over asking and help push prices up to new highs. Price cuts are taking place as sellers try to lure back buyers. That is true. That's not across the board. That's mainly those big cities. According to Redfin, 20% of all listed homes had a price cut, the highest percentage on record for the month of June. Okay, the highest percentage in the month on record in the month of June. Now, I am definitely gonna get back to home prices. So that was in June, right? So, yep, that was published in July, but this was about the June market. But this is the most recent record number of home buyers backed out of deals in July. Nearly 60,000 purchase agreements were canceled last month as buyers had more spending power after mortgage rates dropped. So this is just more of the same, saying that June was 56, looking like July is 60. Unless I read that wrong. I read it multiple times and I'm like, am I am I combining the two when I should be, or am I adding the two or when I should be combining? But I'm pretty sure this is June. This article is about June. This article is about July because we're in August, so that makes sense. Mortgage rates averaging around 6%. Um, yeah, it's just more of the same. But the Redfin notes the supply of homes for sale increased by 14% last month, giving buyers more options. Okay, so more people are deciding to sell. I don't want to say that it's fear mongering. It could be borderline fear mongering. Maybe trying to push some kind of narrative, which, as we all know, everyone's always trying to push some kind of narrative. You can even make that argument that I'm pushing some kind of narrative. The narrative I'm trying to push is really centered around I want people to be informed. That's it. I want you to be informed. I don't care if you decide to sell your home with me. If you're watching this at some point and you're 3,000 miles away, I want you to know that what I'm giving you is just my professionally informed thoughts around the real estate market. I'm not trying to push anything. I say this to people all the time whether buying or selling, it's like, I don't care if you work with me. I just want you to know that if you do decide to do it, like, you have the information you need to make a clear and informed decision. Like, that's a narrative. And unfortunately, you don't get that with the majority of real estate agents. The majority of real estate agents, and this is kind of like off topic ish, on topic ish, can go down a different tangent. But I don't necessarily want to go down, but we have the NAR lawsuit, which I did a stream about last week and how that's affecting sellers. But real estate agents really put themselves in that position because the majority of real estate agents do a bad job. I said it. The majority of real estate agents do not treat this as a business. That's the mindset that I had when I first started. I was like, okay, this is a business. When people sell their homes, that is a monumental thing in their lives. When people buy a home, it's a monumental thing in their lives. You're talking, for most people, when they buy, it's the largest transaction that they will ever make in their lives. When they sell, it's the same thing. They're the largest transaction or two that they'll have in their lives. And we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. That is not something to be taken lightly. That is not something that a real estate agent should take lightly. It's so easy to get a real estate license. It's so easy. In Pennsylvania, you got to take 75 hours of courses approved by the state. And then you got to pass 2 tests, a state test and a national test. And then once you get all your credentials back, you pass, you can go sell a $500,000 house the next day. Someone's life savings can be in the hands of someone who just passed a real estate license, who's 19 years old, 18 years old. Nothing against younger people. Just the facts. And anyone can do it. Like, there needs to be more of a standard to get a real estate license. And again, I'm getting a little off topic here, but there needs to be more of a standard because it's a very Very, very serious decision and important decision that homeowners and home buyers make. So, as a homeowner, when you are deciding to sell your home, that's why you truly have to vet the real estate agent that you're deciding to work with. And I'm not saying that a new agent won't do a good job, but if a new agent is completely by himself and he or she doesn't have the backing of a team leader, a mentor, their broker, if they're just doing it by themselves, that's a big risk for you to take as a homeowner. That's a big risk for you to take. That's why it's so important to vet your real estate agent, because you want to make sure that they have knowledge of the real estate market. They have expertise or getting close to expertise in negotiating, in marketing, in communication with other agents, right? And they can make sure that they help set you up to be in the right position so that you can sell and achieve your goals. You can sell your property and be happy with the outcome and create a win-win scenario with you and the buyer. Buyer's happy. They got a great home. You, the seller, you're happy. You sold it for a great price. You got the terms that you wanted or close to it. You're going to be able to move on from this situation, this chapter in your life to another chapter in your life. Like that's why it's so important that when you're choosing a real estate agent to represent you, they have the necessary experience and knowledge to do what's right for you and to do right by you. I'm going to segue that into home prices and where I see home prices going. Now, I wish I could say that we will see home prices go back to pre-pandemic levels, barring any kind of major catastrophe. God willing, nothing like that ever happens. I don't ever see home prices going back to pre-pandemic levels for the vast majority of the United States. Now, real estate is very local. It's super hyper local. So could it? It absolutely could. It absolutely could. But at the end of the day, there it's probably not going to happen. Okay. It's probably not going to happen. So what does that mean for you? If you're watching this and you're thinking, okay, should I sell now or should I wait? My question to you will always be, what do you need to get out of your home sale? What is your desired outcome? When you're selling your home, what is the ultimate goal? That's how you have to answer it, because every single home seller is in a different position. Now, there is not anything really unique at this point. There are certain things that cause people to move. I'm in a situation where I love my house. Sometimes I hate my house. It's an older home built in 1935, so I get those older home issues. The location is great. The location is also not great. I grew up in Northeast Philadelphia and I walk to school. My kids can walk to school, although I choose to drive my now first grader to school. But she could walk if she wanted to. My youngest is still in pre-K. We walk her to school when school's in session. But I love the ability to I live in a borough. I live in Downingtown Borough in Pennsylvania. I can walk to the grocery store, Rite Aid, drugstore. I can walk to different shops, the bike shop. I can walk to a number of different restaurants. I can walk to Kerr Park, which is our park. I can walk to the basketball courts, to the tennis courts, to this, right? So I say that because everyone is in a different position. Now, me, I would love to live on a cul-de-sac. I would. That's what I want. I want to live on a cul-de-sac. I want to have anywhere from 5 to 10 neighbors. That's what I want. And about a half acre to an acre of land. Growing up in the city, like, I lived in a pretty unique area in Northeast Philly where we had green space, small, super small houses, really tiny houses, small lots, but we live right next to the woods, right? So we had a lot of space to roam. Now, I say all that because home sellers are all in different positions. I would want to not necessarily sell my home since I am a real estate investor, right? So I know that when I move and I buy a home, buy another home, I told you what I want. I'll keep this as a rental. But people like me that are in my position where they want to either move up, the vast majority of people are going to move up. We have a good amount of space. We have almost 3,000 square feet of living space. We have 4 floors, right? Finished attic, which is the office where I'm at now, bedroom level, which is the second level, first level, which is the kitchen, and then a partially finished basement. I don't necessarily need more space, but I need more space, right? Not need, but really want more space. So you might be in a position where you're thinking about selling because you want more space. I know that at some point, either my mom or my one of my in-laws will potentially live with me, right? So I need more space, and whether it's an in-law suite or an ADU, an additional dwelling unit, like a separate building on a piece of land. Like, I know people are in that position where they're thinking, okay, I'm going to have a parent or an in-law live with me one day. So I want to sell my house now and move up to something else. Or you might be in a position where you're relocating. You you live in California and you're relocating here to Downingtown for a job. So you have to sell your house in California and move here. Maybe you're going through one of those extremely unfortunate life events where you're going through a divorce. So you got to sell the house, move into something else. Every home seller's situation is different. So there's no one blanket answer as when someone says to me, should I sell now or wait? Do you need to sell or do you want to sell? There's a big difference between needing to sell and want to sell. I would just want to sell. I do not need to sell. So I'm staying here. But if I did, if I found that right property and it's like, okay, well, I need to sell this in order to get that, then I would do it. But I don't need to. There's nothing forcing me to. So that question, should you sell now or wait? It's very personal to you and your situation. There aren't many people that I've ever come across that are saying, I want to sell my house because the market is up. I don't know where I'm going to go. I don't care where I'm going to go, but I just want to cash in on my equity. Am I saying that's not the case for some people? No. But the vast majority of people are in positions where they either need to sell or they just want to sell. Now, for those want to sell persons, really think about it because, yeah, you want to sell, but you definitely got to buy something, right? You definitely have to buy something. So you're going to be in that position of being a seller and capitalizing on the top of the market. And then you're going to be in the position of being a buyer and it's saying, like, oh, this sucks. I'm going from a 1,500 to a $3,000 mortgage. I'm going from a 1,200 to a $4,000 mortgage, right? So it's very personal. You have to really take into account your situation. If you are in the need to sell, you're generally going to be in a good position. Again, real estate is very hyper local. It's hard for me to say all across the board in all 50 states that you're going to get multiple offers, the best possible price, the best terms. It's impossible for me to say that. I know that in my market, if you're selling your home, you're in a good spot. You're in a good spot. Excuse me. But when it comes back to home prices, I think I just went in like a really weird tangent. But I wanted to touch on, should you sell now or wait? But home prices, are they going to get back to pre-pandemic levels? I strongly believe that there's no chance, barring any kind of major catastrophe that I hope never happens. I've touched on this already. The supply of housing has not nearly come close to the demand for a very long time. They cut building homes during the great economic recession, and it's never caught up. It's just never caught up. So that means that the supply of resales is going to always be limited, because there's only a certain amount of people every year that's going to want to sell their home. And when I say resales, I mean non-new construction properties. So properties that people have lived in that have been built from, 2023 back to the 1700s, whatever, which we do have some really old properties here in Chester County, which I love. That's part of the reason why I really love being here. We have some old ones. We actually had the Downingtown log cabin that was built in, like, I want to say 1741. It's cool. It's like right on the main road in town, and you can visit it a few times throughout the year. But yeah, it's like the supply, in my opinion, is going to take years and years and years of building to catch up to, because you're only going to have a certain amount of resale properties that sell every year in your area. And then that comes with the gripe of dealing with new construction. If I were to post, now I run two pretty big Facebook pages, one for my town, Downingtown area, and then one for Chester County, which is the county that I live in. If you were to post that a new development is coming to West Bradford, which is the township right next to me, everyone will be, their heads will blow up. Oh my God, they don't stop building. Everything looks the same. Everything's so ugly. They need to stop building. They need to preserve more land. It sucks, because I know, being in the real estate industry, I know how valuable and important it is to have these new construction communities, because I know that the supply isn't there for the demand. But at the same time, I'm a homeowner, and like, I don't necessarily, I don't want to deal with more people. I deal with enough people. I don't want the influx of more people. I don't want more traffic. I don't want more people at Wawa. I want it to be how it is. So it's funny, because like, I have that double-edged sword, because I know how important it is. At the same time, I don't want it as well. But the vast majority of people do not want new construction around them, right? They just don't want it. But it's a necessity. So that's why I think home prices will continue to stay where they are. I hope eventually they will soften and they won't go up as high anymore. But it would take some kind of, in my opinion, my professional opinion, I could be wrong, and I'd be willing to eat crow for this, but I do not believe home prices will ever get to pre-pandemic levels unless there's some kind of major catastrophe. And that sucks for a lot of people. I know. I get it. I understand. It's difficult to buy a home right now. It's difficult to sell a home, because if you're selling and buying, you're going to be in that position. So I touched on the contracts being canceled and what that really means. Home prices. Should you sell now or wait? I did touch a little bit on interest rates. I definitely want to share with you again, 6.37% for a 30-year fix. That's pretty good. Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, said that they are going to officially cut rates in September. Now, interest rates have gone down before a cut even happened. They say that there isn't a direct correlation to the Fed cutting rates to mortgage rates, but there's influence there. So that means, in my opinion, I probably would say that we'll be for 30-year fixed in the 5%, like high 5% somewhere in the next 6 months, depending on inflation and the jobs reports. I know that they were off like 818,000 jobs. How the hell does that happen? I don't know. Not an economist, but hey, look, I do know this. I love real estate. I love sharing about real estate. I love talking to people about real estate. I love helping people sell. I love buying as well. And I know that it's an important aspect of the it's important aspect of our lives, right? Everyone needs somewhere to live. From 0 to 18, you're living with your parents for the most part. And then you're renting and then you're buying. So your real estate is an integral aspect of what it means to be an American, right? To live in the United States. People want to own a home. They don't want a nation of renters. Although some people definitely want a nation of renters, right? But here's a fact. Real estate is always going to be boring unless you need to sell or buy. And then you're going to be paying attention, right? So unless you need to sell or buy, you're not going to be paying attention to real estate. But it's important to know it, especially if you're a homeowner. It's important to know. So I've hit the mark. Gonna land the plane. If you are finding yourself anywhere in the US and you need to sell and you need a great agent to help you sell, or if you want to connect with an investor that can purchase your home, if you're in that distressed situation and you want me, my team to reach out to find these people for you, vet them, make sure that they can help you with your needs and they're legitimate. I'm going to put the link down below to schedule a Calendly appointment with me. We'll hop on 10, 15 minutes. I'll get an idea of what you need, what your wants are, and then I'll start reaching out for you. I'll find the right person. And if you're in the greater Philadelphia area or even the Pocono Mountains and you need to sell, click that link below. Schedule an appointment with me. I really look forward to connecting with you on more live streams. Next week, I will be in Dallas. Go Birds. Can't wait until next Friday, but I'll be in Dallas next Thursday. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do this one. I'm going to be back on the week after with more information about what's happening in the real estate market.